Okay, I think we are recording now. So thank you guys for coming. I'm really excited to see a little bit more interest, at least, in the Enduro series. I feel like when I just started racing Enduros a couple years ago. I did the off-road series way back when I was younger and not worried about hurting myself going that fast. But I've had so much fun the last couple of years with the Enduro series. It just feels a little bit more low key. To me, my personal opinion, it's a little more of a technical challenge. It's less about just, holding the throttle wide open. Not that that's not challenging, because it is, but it's a little more just technical and way lower key. If you've been to an Enduro event, just everything feels a little just less intense, which I really like. So if you're looking at me at all on camera, you're going to see my head facing this way because that's where the slides are that I'm sharing. So you're going to see what I'm talking about. But if you have questions, just feel free to, especially with the smaller group, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask it. I'm fine with being interrupted unless it starts getting too crowded, but I think it's fine for this size group. So let's see here. Agenda. I'll just talk real quickly about the main differences between the Enduro versus the off-road series. And just a side note, in case it wasn't clear in the invite, all of this is specific to NMA, or the Northwest Motorcycle Association racing. So there may be slight differences in how we do things versus, like, I know OMRA does ISDs different. But so this is all NMA specific. It'll cover Sprint Enduro and ISDE format. Those are super simple, pretty easy to understand. The majority of the time will be on the timekeeper stuff, because I know that's kind of the big question mark for a lot of people. And then just go over some classes and a couple of other resources if you're interested in those. So biggest differences between NMA and Enduro and off-road, the starts. So for all three of the formats, there's timekeeper, Sprint Enduro, and ISDE. They're not done by class or in big waves like the off-road series. There's 2 to 3 racers per minute. I think technically they can have 4, but typically we only have 2 or 3. They start at 9:01, and there's 2 or 3 people, and then the next minute they send the next 2 or 3, and the next 2 or 3. The people on your minute may or may not be in your class. They will be on the same course length as you, though. So you can request to sign up with a friend. So that's pretty fun. As long as you have to both be doing short course. You can't sign up on the same minute as a long course person if you're riding short course, or vice versa. You can also request to have a minute toward the back of the pack. I've come across a lot of gals that feel this way. They're just really nervous about getting past, and they don't know how they're going to match up against everybody else. So you can, when you sign up, sometimes they'll let you request to be kind of toward the back of the pack. That way you're just, if you're doing any passing, it's you going to be passing somebody else. I'm somebody that gets nervous when fast people come up on me. I don't want to be in their way. So this is helpful to know that. Short and long course run simultaneously. So off-road, they run kids and then short course and then long course. So if anybody was at Eddyville on Sunday, they know long course didn't even start till 3:30, I think. They had some delays, so that ended up being a very long day. So it's kind of nice, especially if you have the whole family racing. You're all out there at the same time. Long course might finish a little bit later, but not hours and hours later. So it's typically an earlier Sunday afternoon, which is always nice. For the format and terrain, the courses typically consist of single track. They test more technical skills, like I was saying earlier, although speed is still the determining factor for who wins. You typically won't have any idea where your competition's at, because they could have started 30 minutes ahead of you. They could have started 30 minutes behind you. So it's really just kind of a test between yourself and the clock. For me, I feel like it makes me push harder, because I'm like, I have no idea where they're at. I have to just go as fast as I can, right? Short course classes are typically 30 to 40 miles, long course up towards 50 and 60 mark. Back in the day, they used to be over 80, some of the Enduros. For long course, it seems like they've kind of gone easy on us the last few years, but we'll see. We'll see if anybody wants to put the hurt on this year. There are gas trucks if a course is 40 miles or longer, sometimes even when it's shorter. So that will be at staging. Sign up, you put your gas can on a truck, and then there will be a gas point somewhere along the course. You can send a bag on your gas can with snacks and goggles and anything else you might think you need. So that's kind of nice too. One other big thing, the class letter designators, like off-road series, you have to have a letter that tells everybody what class you're in. You don't have to have that for the Enduro series. So you can have it, you just don't have to have it. Any questions so far? Oh, Julie, you just raised your hand. Yep.
Is it B or W for the letters?
For women's? Well,
Yeah.
So for Enduro, you don't have to have letters at all.
Okay.
But in the off-road series, so women's A and women's B are W, and women's C is WC. A and B can have the same letter because they're on separate courses. But again, that's for off-road, not Enduro. Any other questions on this stuff so far? Okay, I'm gonna keep it moving. Okay, so sprint enduro, probably the easiest format to understand. There's no timekeeping equipment required. It is a closed course lap, so really similar to a hare scramble or an off-road race. No less than 5 miles, no longer than 25 miles. Seems like usually they're somewhere between 6 and 10 miles, from what I've been seeing the last couple of years anyway. Short and long course run the exact same course. They just have to do more or less laps. So the hosting club will announce at the rider meeting how many laps you have to do for a short course and for a long course. And then each lap is timed. So you do have to start on the minute that they sign you up on. But after you finish that first lap, they mark your time down and you can take a break. You can go if you need to work on your bike, if you need to get some water, get new goggles, get a snack, you can do that. I have an example of it later in the slides, but there's just a scorecard on your bike. You tape it to your bike and they write your start time and your end time on each lap. So super low key. You can totally up to you when you start all the remaining laps after that first lap. There's no time requirement on that. This is a good question we always get. You cannot run extra laps. So let's say you have 4 lap minimum, but you got done early and you think you had a bad lap. You can't go out for a 5th lap and like cancel out the bad run. Your laps are your laps. That's just the way it is. And then the fastest combined time of all the laps is a winner. So pretty simple. Any questions on that? Nothing yet. All right, awesome. Okay, ISDE format. This is modeled after International 6 Days Enduro, but it is a little bit different than how the actual do it officially. But this is my favorite. I love ISDEs, and by the way, is an ISDE. It's at Shelton. That's the Puget Sound Enduro riders, but they're adding an ISTE this year, and I always have the most fun because it's literally like a trail ride with your friends. There's just special tests along the way. So again, no timekeeping equipment required. Some do the same loop twice or 3 times, and sometimes it's just one giant loop. So it just depends on the course that year and where it's at. So short and long course, we usually run most of the same course. And like I was saying earlier, the majority is not timed. So kind of imagine like a poker run, like just a marked course. And then there's just these clearly marked little sections that are special tests. And they're staffed, so it'll be really obvious. There's club members there. They have a timer. They write down your start time. They'll space you out. They'll usually get at least 30 seconds between sending people out for a special test. If there's even anybody there ahead of you, sometimes there's nobody there. So there will typically be 3 special tests for short course and 1 or 2 more, but that's when it counts for your scores. And so they're usually 2 to 7 miles. I would have never said 7 miles for special tests before, but Cascade Family did that to us last year at the for the very first test was 7 miles. It was pretty long for a special test. I would say that's common, but it can happen. And then if it's multiple laps, they will move the special test. So you're not going to get to test that same test twice. It will have moved to a different spot by the time you come back around to it. So super fun because, like I said, you can just ride with your friends, and then once the test is over, you can all wait for each other at the end of the test. Something I didn't write in here, but sometimes they will be a little tricky. So it's not a surprise, but just FYI. Let's see what else here. Oh yeah, so the fastest combined time of all the special tests is the winner. And I just put another note here. Like I said earlier, other organizations may run these differently. So if you were to go do an ISDE with AMA or OMRA, it's going to be a little bit different. Some of them, they have times you have to make it to the special test by. So I like that. We don't have to worry about that with NMA. It makes it super low key. Questions on that? Anybody? Nothing yet. All right. I'm gonna keep it moving. My mouse would cooperate. Okay. Timekeeper. This is the doozy, right? So again, feel free to raise your hand. There's a little raise your hand feature in Meet, or you can just speak up because I have like 5 slides on this. There's a lot. So first thing, you will an odometer with a clock. Also have the photos of that in the later slides, or an Enduro computer. So we'll go over how those work a little bit too. I've never actually used an Enduro computer, so I don't have a lot of expertise on that, but they're also very expensive. So it seems a little bit silly to me for 2 races because there's only 2 timekeepers in the whole Enduro series. The course will be 1 loop. Long and short will typically follow the same short courses. Down to a roll chart and a route sheet. So I'll show those later. And what that roll chart, because the whole race is timed, they're indicating your target average speed for each segment. So it shows you the mileage where you're at on the course, the minutes that should be on the clock, and what your average speed should be during that time. And then there's multiple checkpoints along the course where your time is recorded and measured against your target arrival time. The kicker is that you don't get to know where those are going to be. So you can't just like sprint and then rest and know where the checkpoint's going to be so you can hit it right on time. It's kind of anybody's guess. There's a couple ways you can know where a check is not going to be, but there's no way to know where a check will be. So the goal is to match the target speed for the entire course. If you successfully arrive to all the checks on time, you'll also end with a 0. That's the best score you can get. Extremely hard to do that. If you arrive late to any of the checks, you have 1 point added for every minute that you're late. So if your arrival time is 10:30, if you arrive at 10:30 and 58 seconds, you're still on time. But if you arrive at 10:31 and 1 second, that's a minute. So it's just for every 1 minute you're late, you get 1 point added. This is the kicker here. It's actually better to be late than early. If you're early, you have 2 points added to your score for the first minute and 5 points for every additional early minutes. It's hard to do this. You've never accidentally done it once or twice. And then, so just the lowest number of points at the end of the course wins. So, any questions so far on all of that? Nothing. All right.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yep.
I don't know if it's you or me, but it was cutting out a little bit, and maybe you covered it. But when you were talking about the roll chart, when you're riding, and I've seen it before where they've got the signs in the trees, you know, like you're supposed to be at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So say you start on your minute, say for instance 9:01. When do you roll your chart?
Oh, yeah, good question. I will explain that here in a couple of slides. So, oh no,
Oh, okay.
I lost my connection. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know if
getting a
it's my
screen that says I
connection or your
lost my
connection, but
connection.
it's kind of cutting out a little bit for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I can
Yep,
barely
it's
hear
cutting
you.
out for
Just
me
getting
too.
bits and pieces. I can't hear.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough in and out.
I can hear also, but yeah, bits and pieces.
Okay. Well, shoot. And I have been having my internet's been spotty today. That sucks. Give me just a second here. I'm actually going to switch to my hotspot. Sorry, guys.
All right. Okay.
Take a break. Some more or something if you want.
I'm really glad somebody said something because I just assumed it was me. Ditto.
Yeah, that sucks. Sorry about that.
I know. I thought it was me too. I turned off my Wi-Fi on my phone. I thought maybe that was doing it or something.
Yeah.
Okay. I switched networks. Is it seeming better yet?
Yeah, I think we'll
You have to
roll.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you guys want me to go back or we'll just
I'm
have
good.
Q. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just re-answer what I just told you, Julie, which is I'll go over that here shortly.
Okay.
So, and with the timekeepers, that I think there's actually only one spot where they're saying this is where you should be, and there's always a 2.9 mile check, and that's an odometer check. I'll talk about that in a minute too. But
Okay.
they shouldn't. Well, I mean, sorry, I can't remember if they actually put mileage markers on the course or not. But
Yeah, some of them do.
we'll get to
some
that.
of them don't.
So,
okay.
okay. Okay. So
The spark plug one at Takuya, they didn't have mile markers, I don't think.
yeah, I don't think the timekeepers do because they have, and we'll get into this in a minute, but they have resets where they kind of roll it forward, and then so the mileage is technically not totally accurate. But they
Okay.
do. Either way, we can get back to that. But I'll still answer your question, Julie. I think it'll make sense to you in a sec here. Okay, so like I just said, there's always a mileage check at the 2.9 miles. That your is reading accurately
Is
and make
anybody else hearing
adjustments.
the cutting out?
Sometimes it's hard to do.
Yeah. It's
Gina?
not a good night. It's cutting out pretty bad still.
Yeah, I can't hear either.
Yeah. Same.
I'm so sorry. Okay. One
It's
last
like it
ditch
cuts
effort. I'll
out.
see if there. I think
And then it gets clear
I might be
again.
able to call.
Like,
I'm going to type this in the chat in case you guys can't hear me.
Gina, I think just keep going. I mean, we're gonna get out of it. It cuts out only for like a few seconds at a time when it happens.
I'm going to see if I can. I think I saw in my email a phone number. Just I'll spend about 60 seconds on this, and if I can't figure it out, we'll forget it. But Um,
Kiaria, how do you say your name?
It's Kiera. I met you at the ladies' ride in Mattawa. Everybody calls me T.
Oh,
Yeah, it's T.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, cool. Good, good.
I saw your puppy.
Yeah. She's so fabulous. She's so great. She's the best dog I've ever had.
He's so pretty.
Hmm. Yeah.
Gina, where do you live?
I'm in Belfair, Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, I just moved here a year ago. I was in Tacoma for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
Well, now it seems to be working okay.
of course. Yeah, one sec here. I think I got the join by phone thing. Well, maybe not. All right, I'm just going to try to keep going. I put a link to these slides also in the Facebook group. So hopefully that will help kind of answer any questions or just for you guys to go back and review it. But I'm going to try to keep going. Okay, so checkpoints. This is earlier I said there's ways to know where a checkpoint won't be. They can't be closer than 3 miles together. And they can't be closer than 3 miles after the 2.9 mileage check. So if you just hit a checkpoint, you know you don't have to worry about the next one for 3 miles, which isn't a terribly long distance, but is nice to know. There can also be known controls or known checks, like the finish. It's not always, but it can be. And the gas stop, same thing. Not always, but they can be. It will be clearly marked. If you are early to those, you will not be penalized if it's within 15 minutes. But if you're more than 15 minutes early, you'll get disqualified. And if you're late to those, it's just like being late to any other check. This is a 1 point per minute. They also have checks called emergency checks or e-checks, a lot of people call them. Those are the only checks, so they're going to write down the seconds that you're early or late to. They're write down the seconds on your time, and they just use those for tiebreakers later if they need to, which I have had happen, by the way. So we're human, and it's possible that they would make an error. So just make sure that they wrote down the correct time. Questions on any of that? Okay. The next slide, I'll have some images to help explain this, but there are usually resets on the route sheet also. They're intended to give you a rest if you're on time or a chance to catch up if you're late. So they're marked on the roll sheet, and basically like it'll say at mile 3.5 there's a reset, and then it'll say reset to 4 or something like that. So then you have to click your odometer forward to that mileage. But then it kind of, they just gave you a half a mile for free, basically, is what that's doing. And then let's see. If you are not on the first minute of the day, which is typically 9:01, you'll want to reset the time clock on your odometer to the key time. This is where it gets kind of confusing, but it's actually, it's not that difficult. It's just a few steps, right? So like when you're signing up, they're going to have the key time clock posted. So it might say 7:30 or something when you're up there. Whatever minute you're on, let's say you're on minute 30, you'll want to set your clock on your odometer or whatever clock you're using, if you're using a watch, whatever, to 30 minutes ahead of whatever the key time is at that time. So that way, if the first minute out is 9:01 and you're 9:30, then when you go at actually 9:30, your clock will say 9:01. So that's going to line up everything with the route sheet or the roll charts. So I know that might not make sense right now, but it will hopefully in a minute. So the other thing I put here is highly recommend spending some time. Dang it, I just lost my connection again. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So sorry. Okay. So I was, before I lost the connection, I was trying to say that I recommend spending time familiarizing yourself with how to click your odometer forward and or change the time on it, because you'll need to do that on the fly during the race. Well, not the clock part, but the odometer part if you want to keep up with the resets. Okay. Next slide. All right. So this is a roll chart. And when you sign up, they will typically email this to you little ways before the race. You'll need to be able to print this and cut it all out. You can kind of see it's in little strips. And then on the far left here is a roll chart holder. I put a link to one of these in the Facebook group earlier. So highly recommend, I put a little pro tip here. Once I have mine all cut out and taped together, you need to tape the top to the bottom. So this is one big long strip that then you funnel into the roll chart carrier. But I recommend laminating it with clear packing tape, like the whole thing, because if that thing gets wet, which, you know, we get some rain around here, you're not going to be able to read it anymore. And then you won't have any ability to keep time. That's if you're using a roll chart instead of a computer. They're kind of outlined in red here. So this column here, if you guys can see my mouse, is the mileage that you're at along the course. So for every one of these, that's that same column. The middle column is the minutes on the clock. So you can see like this would be 9:12, 9:14, 9:16, etc. And then you start, you know, we get to 58 and then the next, it starts over because there's only 60 minutes in an hour, right? Julie, yeah.
So you're saying,
Julie, did you raise your hand?
so, yes, I did. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's cutting out a little bit, but I'm
Oh.
me, not you. So
Okay,
I think I can get it.
So say I'm at mile 4.5 and I set my clock to my key time. So does that mean it should say my time? So if I'm at mile 4.5, my time should say 9:18.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. That was easy. Yeah, I never understood that key time thing.
Yeah. It's just the reason why they have to do that is because they can't give everybody a different rule chart, right? That would be like a massive amount of work for the club. So they just say set your clock to the key time and everybody has the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this far column on the right is the average speed that they're, so you can see here like the first half of this race pretty much the target speed was 15 miles an hour. Sometimes, so like the spark plug last year, it felt like almost the whole day the average speed was 18 miles an hour, which is pretty dang fast for single track. So I actually messed up my timekeeping because I was trying to use an app, which I'm not going to use anymore. And I messed it up. So I realized I messed it up. And I just remembered seeing that 18 mile an hour average time. I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to go like as fast as I can because 18 is pretty fast, you know? And I actually ended up doing okay. Actually, I think I won the women's class. That was why I was shocked, but I was just like, I just got to cruise. But yeah, so point being, it's pretty unrealistic to always expect to be on time. Most people are gonna be late at some points. It's just a matter of who's the least amount late, right? Because sometimes they'll put some really unrealistic speeds in there, but then they'll slow it way down to, well, they didn't really slow it down too much at all for this one, but that's Puget Sound Enduro riders for you. Yeah, so the resets here, that's kind of what I was talking about. So when you get to 11.71, you want to click your odometer forward to 12.1 because the whole rest of the course is going to be based off of that. And like I said, it's just to give you a little bit of a break. That's not a very big rest, but like here, they gave us a whole mile and some change, right? So just little time to catch your breath or catch up if things got off kilter for the day. And then, so this here, these little guys roll it, right? So to answer your earlier question, Julie, the knobs on this side, you just turn that top knob backwards. So as you look at your odometer, and I have had it happen a few times and not paying attention. I'm like, oh no, like I'm over the mileage. You have to like spin it a few times to get back into the range where you're at. But it's kind of simple. It's pretty old school, but I think it's pretty neat. So any other questions on this stuff? There's more. There's more on the timekeeper stuff. This is the roll chart piece. Nothing. Okay. Next here. So this is a route sheet. I don't have a lot to say about this. If you have a computer, an Enduro computer, they're like $350. You put all of these into the computer and it will tell you, go faster, go slower. You have a check coming up. Not you have a check, but you have a reset coming up. It'll do all of it for you automatically. So it's just obviously probably more accurate, but to me, I don't know. I actually think it's really fun to do the roll chart stuff and have to use your brain a little bit more. But they do give you this when you sign up, if this is the route you want to go. And there's an app that also works for it. I'll talk about in a minute here. Any questions on this? All right, I'm going to keep going. I'm so sorry. Okay, scoring. So at sign up, you'll be given a score sheet like this one. You'll want to tape it to either your front number plate or your front fender. If it doesn't fit on the front number plate, you can put it diagonal. It doesn't really matter. Make sure it's on there good, because if you lose it, there's no other way to score your race. As shown here, 903B means this person is starting at 903. And then A, B, C, they're just to indicate the 3 people on the minute. So one person will be 903A, one will be 903B, and one will be 903C. At checkpoints, course workers will write your time arrived by the minute, unless it was an e-check, then they'll also write down the seconds. All that's for timekeepers. For ISTE, they just write the start and end times of your tests. And for sprint Enduro, they just write the start and end times of each lap. So a little bit different for each type, but same basic idea. And then for the timekeepers, the time due and the points columns will be completed after the fact when they're scoring everything. Really important, there will be a carbon copy behind this that you can take it when they take the scorecard back from you at the end. I've had my score be like completely, like they put somebody else's numbers in for me before, and I was really glad I had that because I was able to send it to them and they corrected it. So highly recommend grabbing that at the end of the race. Okay, so here's more on the timekeeping equipment options. So this is the ICO Enduro computer. Again, it's pretty spendy. I haven't used one, so I don't have a lot to offer there. But I'm sure if this is something you're interested in, I'm sure I could help find somebody that could help kind of talk you through how to work it. I think it's probably really similar to this app, Enduro Checkpoint 2. It's just on your smartphone, so you can get a phone holder and use it. The concept is really great for this. It tells you once you put in all the checkpoint information, not checkpoint, but all the route information from the route sheet, it will tell you slow down or go faster. The problem I had with this is it runs, there's one version that runs on an odometer, but it's Bluetooth, which I don't think my odometer has a Bluetooth option. And then the other option is GPS. And GPS is historically fairly inaccurate for actual, if you want very accurate mileage. So it's probably not going to give you perfect results, but it's better than nothing. And I think the app is either free or like $1.99 or something. So it's a good option. But then we have the trusty roll chart option here, option 3. I know a lot of us ride bikes that come with odometers. Mine don't. I ride the cross-country version of KTM for what I just like to make my life difficult. But so I really like this Trail Tech odometer. It's been really good for me. So, but I would recommend that one. Any questions on this stuff? No. All right, I will keep going. Actually, not a whole lot left here. So I just wanted to put up the classes that are available for the Enduro series. Super excited. We added the women's A class this year that will run long course. We weren't able to do a separate B and C for short course for Enduro. We just added that women's B class on the off-road side. So that's really exciting, but we just don't have the numbers yet. Part of that too is because the contingency programs don't pay out unless there's 6 people or more signed up. So if we split the class and there was only 3 in each class, then nobody's getting a contingency from KTM and Husky. So for now, we'll keep it combined B and C for the women on short. Obviously, women can ride any class. You don't have to ride the women's class, but trying to kind of give us more options so we can ride amongst our peers and still be competitive. So hopefully, if we get enough turnout this year, then maybe we could split the B and C class next year or the year after that. So yeah, I see a hand raise. Go ahead.
Hi, Gina. On the classes thing, I was questioning that because C is short course and B is long course. I'm not even sure where I would like fall in that. Yeah. So I don't know if there's a way to distinguish that. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sorry. So yeah, I can hear you. It's cutting out a little bit, but I think I heard you say B is long and C is. I don't know if that was your question or if you had a different question. Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's hard to hear.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I will go back through and read power.
What was that? Oh, I think she went back on mute. I will just add to that because I think maybe part of the question was like how to know which class to sign up for. So women's A is considered expert level. I know it's hard to know, like everybody has a different version of that. And then B is intermediate and C is more beginner. Although I don't really think anybody is really beginner if they're out there racing, but beginner to racing, I guess, is a good way to put it. What I would say is if you think riding 60 miles of single track sounds like fun, then you should sign up for A class. Because there's a lot of people that do think that, and there's a lot of people that do not think that. So that's kind of what I would do. Of course, I would love to see tons of women in the A class, but it can be a long day. Like for example, last year, the Spark Plug Enduro long course, I don't think it was too much longer, and people were already really tired from the short course. But then I think at the Puget Sound Enduro Riders one, the long course was quite a bit longer, and I know some riders that are really good and in shape riders, and they were like, "Oh, that was an ass kicker." So, just kind of depends on what you think you want to sign yourself up for. Yeah, Julie, you have a hand up. You're still muted, Julie.
Can you ride B one time and A another time?
Yeah, so yes and no. If you're not signed up for the series, you can pretty much ride whatever class you want anytime. If you signed up for a women's BC for the series and then you raced A, you're not going to get points for the series from your A class. But yeah, so that's kind of a personal choice. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say also, anybody that's new to the series or new to this type of racing, BC is probably a good spot for you. Unless you're just like a mountain single track fool, you ride 80-mile rides all summer long, and you are like, if you're really sure that the long course is suitable for you. But again, I mean, anybody can do whatever they want in that regard. So I just want everybody to have fun. That's my biggest concern, is if somebody signed up for A class and then they were just miserable. That would be unfortunate. It'd be better to try B first, and then if you're like, oh, that was easy, then try A the next time, right? Yeah, T, you have a hand raised.
You remembered. Yeah, so I've never raced, and I'm just curious, like, you can sign up for just like one race just to try it out. Like, you don't have to commit to like the whole series, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, you can drop into any race,
Okay.
or it's the series is fun because you get there gets some really good competition going, and
Yeah.
by the end of the year you really want to like beat somebody or but yeah, definitely not a requirement to race. Anybody can sign up and race at any of the races.
And then just one more question. For like somebody who's like me, I'm a new writer, it's only been not even a year. If I wanted to just try my hand at it like sometime this year, do you recommend like a specific location that's best to try this out over some of the other more difficult areas?
Yeah, I think that a really good starting point would be the ISDE at Shelton, which is the first weekend in May, and it's that Saturday. They're doing 2 races that weekend. They're doing an ISDE and then a timekeeper. So the ISDE is simple, but if you're really wanting to try timekeeping, then I would also say, because Shelton is a lot of really fun single track. It's pretty flowy. Nothing really difficult out there, but it's still quite challenging. So it's really, I feel like it's just either one of those would be really great places to start.
Okay. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Julie.
T, where do you live?
I live in Lakewood.
Oh, okay. I live in Puyallup. Let's go out and do that. Gina, do you know if it's the same course both days?
I don't know. I kind of doubt it. If I know some of the people putting that on, I kind of doubt they would go that easy on us.
Okay. Good point.
Yeah. What other questions? I only have one more slide, and it's a super quick and easy one. So what else you guys got? Anything?
I'm gonna jump in.
T, let me know if you want to do that race. I'll do both days.
I gotta look at the schedule, but I will hit you up, Julie. I'll hit you on Instagram Messenger.
Okay. Right.
What is there a deadline date
For pre-entry?
for the Shelton Valley Enduro one? I didn't see a deadline date on that.
I haven't seen one yet. I would imagine they'd close it maybe a week or so before, unless it starts getting really full, and then they might let us know that's getting full. So
yeah, okay. I did the poker on that one, and you are correct. The trails are pretty flowy.
yeah,
Still some challenging, but yeah, pretty flowy.
yeah. It's a really fun place to ride. Mary, I know you had your hand up too.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit confused because in the beginning you talked about the off-road races versus the enduro series.
Mhm.
So, and the off-road had the class designations, but the
Yeah.
enduro doesn't.
Yes, correct. That's just the letter, just the I'm just talking about the number plates for off-road. You have to have a letter after your number, or you actually don't even have to have a number, you just have to have a letter so people know what class you're in. But that's not required with the Enduro series. That's all I meant by that.
Okay, okay. So you're still, no matter what race you get in, you're going to designate what class you want to race in. Correct.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So there will be, like, for Enduro, we have women's A or women's B/C, or any of the other classes that are on this screen, just like the off-road series. The only difference is you don't have to have a letter on your number plate telling everybody what that is, because you're not even starting in waves with your class, and you're on different points of the course anyway. So it doesn't really matter if somebody's in your class or not. So they
Right,
don't.
right. Okay. Another quick question about because I'm 63, and so I could technically get into that master's class,
You
or
sure
I
could.
can compete against you all 20-year-olds. No, some of you are. And that's not really fair either, to be competing against men or competing against 20-year-olds. So suggestions, please.
Yeah, I think, well, to be fair, Julie's, I just saw her announce it with her hand. So Julie there is 51. I'm about to be 40. So we're not all 20. But my friend Darcy is about to turn 60 and she still races too, but she's not doing the series. But anyway, I digress. I think,
I'm also almost 41.
well, there you go.
Well, I will always be a kid at heart.
But I mean, I think, I don't know how many people are typically in that master's class. But I think it's a pretty fast class. I would say it's probably a faster class than the women's B and C class. So in terms of wanting to be competitive, maybe the women BC might be the best option, but it's totally up to you too. And you could also, if you're not doing the series, you could try both out and see which one feels better.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How many people are generally, or how many women are generally in the fast group? I'm just curious. The women's A.
Well, this is the first year that we've had the women's A class.
Oh,
So
cool. How many do you think will be in it? I mean, I know you're rallying really hard to get people to do it. So that's awesome. Do you?
I had so 5 of us are signed up for the series at this point.
Cool.
So my hope is that all 5 of us show up to all the races, and then usually you'll get a few more that drop in that aren't doing the series, right? So that's part of why I'm doing this. I'm trying to get people excited about it.
I love it. That's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Okay, I have another raised hand, or 2 raised hands. Barry. Or did we just not put that hand down from last time, maybe?
Yeah, I'm done with my questions. Sorry.
Perfect, no worries. Julie, go ahead.
Is there a way to see who the 5 people are?
Oh yeah, you just go
Like
to
on our dashboard?
it's not on the dashboard.
Okay.
If you go to the NMA website and go to, I know it's a little counterintuitive because the series hasn't started yet for Enduro, but if you go to race results and go to the Enduro,
Okay.
even though there's no races yet, it'll still show who's signed up for the series. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do that for all the classes. Yeah. But it never fails. Like the week before, so like the last week of April, we'll get a whole bunch of people sending in their competition license. So there, hopefully anyway, there will be more than is currently showing. Any other questions?
Is that one the first one that you're talking about,
Mhm.
the ISD in Shelton?
What about it? Sorry.
Is that the first one of the series, the one in Shelton that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the first one. So that Saturday is the ISD, and then that Sunday is a timekeeper.
Cool.
So what a way to kick off the series, right? But yeah. I should have put a link to the schedule here, but I didn't. But I did put a link to the rule book. It's kind of hard to absorb some rule book stuff, but it's there. And then, oh, Mary, you have a raised hand again?
Yeah, can you register at the race or do you have to register beforehand?
For the series or for the race?
For an individual race?
A lot of them, oh shoot, I lost my connection again.
No, we can hear you.
Hold on. You can, okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of them you can register at the race. However, Puget Sound Enduro riders are pre-entry only for both of them. So you will want to register ahead of time.
So that Shelton race you're talking about, the first one in May, is that one
Yeah.
that you can register at the race?
Nope, you have to pre-enter for that one.
Okay. I'm trying to work it out because I'm coming out there middle of April and I'll be working in Cle Elum. And so then trying to figure out my schedule work wise and whether I'll be able to do a Saturday or Sunday. I'm not even sure I can do that. So anyway, just wanting to know.
Okay. Yeah, I think hopefully they'll keep entry open until about a week or so before the race. So you got some time, but definitely understand that, making it a little difficult. I think it's just getting so popular. They can't, the lines for sign up would be way too long if they let people enter there, I think is kind of where we've got with that, which is great. It means that attendance is up, right? So I put, again, these slides, there's a link to them in that Facebook event. And there's a link. So on this slide, it's the last one. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys, so Monty Sorum is the NMA competition committee chairperson. He's also a member of the Puget Sound Enduro Riders and a big part of putting on those first two events of the year. And he has this YouTube video from a few years back that's called Enduro School. And it's pretty good. It helped me a couple years ago kind of start to get the hang of it. So I wanted you guys to have the link for that as well. Okay, I've got 2 hands raised here. So is that Kate? K84T? Is that Kate?
It's Kayleen.
Okay. Oh, is it? Did I
Hi.
meet you the other day at riding?
You did. Out at
Okay.
Tahuya, yeah. Yep.
Awesome. What's your question?
Oh, well, I was just going to say to the other ladies, and it might be in your rule book, they do check for spark arresters on your bike,
Yes.
and usually a sound check, just an FYI on that. The only one I ever did was Tahuya, but that was definitely a thing. So make sure you have your spark arrestor, and yeah.
That's a great point. Thank you for saying that.
Yep.
All right. How about you, Mary?
Oh, I forgot to put it down again. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, no worries. Well, that was like perfect timing because we're at 7:59. So I will go ahead and end this, but you guys all obviously now you know how to contact me. So reach out anytime. I'm happy to help. I'm stoked to see more interest and tell all your friends. Tell them to get out to Shelton. It's going to be really fun.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Gina.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. That was awesome.